I'm Becky Johnson with Sweetheart Quilt Design Company, and I'm excited to be here today. We're going to talk about fussy cutting. And fussy cutting is where you have a design in your fabric that you want to highlight. So in this case, we have a butterfly. Here's one you can see a little more easily. Now, I didn't take those out of the border fabric. I had another piece that had small butterflies in it. And here I got a group of butterflies. And here there's more than one butterfly, but this one is highlighted. And it's a great way to tie a quilt to the border. On this one, I cut these out of the border fabric and got a variety of different flowers. Here's another one where I had this beautiful border print, and I wanted to draw it into the center of the quilt because I think that ties the quilt together. When you put a border on that doesn't have anything to do with the center quilt, it sometimes looks a little disjointed. So fussy cutting is a great way to bring the border in. Here's a really fun one. I had this old-time carnival or amusement park fabric, and so I brought those into the center of the quilt, and here they are with a why did it slip my mind? Roller coaster. Here we are with a roller coaster. Here's a merry-go-round carousel, and here on a Ferris wheel. So I cut those out to highlight them and bring the border in. It's an adorable children's quilt. And this was actually a border fabric where they went along the side like that, but I just cut out sections to bring in the different dinosaurs. And then this one would look familiar to you if you've been watching the other YouTube videos. This is the Scrappy Quilt of Valor. And on this one, I wanted to put something interesting in the center of the stars, and I had this eagle fabric. So I needed a 4.5-inch square. And when you fussy cut, it's easiest to do it if you have a square the size that you want to fussy cut. Sometimes you have to, maybe you want a 4-inch, so you'll have to cut 2 sides and then move it over. But I wanted, this ruler has markings, and it marks the center right there. So when I lay this on here, we'll do one right here. When I lay this on here, there's my center point. And I'm gonna look, so right now I've got that centered this way, or centered from side to side. And then I wanna make sure I'm centering it from top to bottom. So you can see there's 1 inch here, maybe 1 1/8 inches. And where these end up, there's just about 7/8. So I'm gonna scoot this up to where it's about 1 inch on either side. And then since I have stripes, I wanna make sure my stripes are straight. And then I can go ahead and cut this, and I'm right at the edge here, so I can pull that back and cut this way. Now don't overcut too much, because you'll put those little slits in your fabric. And then you can either cut around these 2 sides, which is fairly awkward, or you can rotate your fabric around. And I've been practicing this a lot. At first I couldn't do it very well at all, but now I can do it usually without my ruler slipping. So there I have a nicely centered eagle that I can use. And you can see it kind of wastes a lot of fabric to fussy cut, but the results are worth it. You get some nice designs. Okay, so I want to show you a couple of other pieces that you can do that with. I've got this Western piece here, and if I want to, sometimes you have size constraints. Sometimes you see this fabric and you look at it, so you want to find a pattern that's the right size. On this one, if I want to grab all of this, I'm really at the edge because you have to be thinking seam allowance. So maybe instead what I want to do is center the cowboy boots and the gloves, and kind of highlight the cowboy boots more because of their color. They stand out. So I'm going to let the gloves sort of drift to the top, and then I'm going to look at, and we'll pull them up a little bit more. I'm going to look at this. Now the boot is a 1/2 inch, and over here I'm 3/4 of an inch, so I'm going to scoot over another 1/8 of an inch. And then I could cut that, if I only had one layer here, I could cut that and I'd have a nice centered piece for the cowboy boots. And sometimes if you're working with a 3.5 inch square, you can zero into that better, but it depends on the pattern that you're working with. Sometimes, like here, I have to, with the 3.5 inch square, put my seam allowance there, so I have to decide which piece would be the least noticeable to lose. And so if I cut off the back of the cowboy boots, I think that would be all right. Now here's another one. Okay, I have this adorable little raccoon here. So if I want to fussy cut this raccoon, here's the center of my ruler. So this is something that I do sometimes. Now he's got a bird sitting on the top of his head, so I might want to grab that. Or maybe I just want to focus on the raccoon and not really notice the bird. But you see that this raccoon has this tail sticking out. And so if I center it like this, which really puts it, let's see, okay, there I have 1 inch and 1 inch, but it's going to make the raccoon look a little off center. And so it might make the picture look awkward. But if I scoot this over and put the center right on his chest, like that, then the tail is not centered, but he is centered. And so it gives you a more balanced look, a better look. Anyway, that's generally how you fussy cut things. And I think it's a lot of fun. As you can tell from all these quilts, I like to fussy cut. It's a great way to bring the border into the quilt and tie your quilt together, and it's just fun. So have fun with that. Thanks.